Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing today?
Good. Good.
Excellent, excellent. Very glad y'all could be here. Uh, on behalf of Silent No Longer Tennessee, I want to welcome all of you here today for our first annual Poetry and Spoken Word Night. Now, are y'all having any problems hearing me, or was it
No,
just the video?
just the video.
Okay.
Just video.
And I apologize about that. Um, But like I said, welcome to the first annual Poetry and Spoken Word Night. Although tonight's event is intended to be part of Silent No Longer's sexual assault awareness campaign, over the last week or so, it's morphed a little bit and has become kind of a two-cause event. Um, 2 weeks ago, a fellow activist and friend of ours from another organization informed us that she had lost a dear colleague to COVID-19. And a week ago, we learned that a very dear friend of ours, and again, a fellow activist, she, her husband, and her daughter were awaiting test results after they started exhibiting numerous symptoms of COVID-19. And then it continued to get kind of bad. 3 days ago, I was notified by one of our performers that she was having to cancel because she knew she had COVID-19, but she had started experiencing a lot of difficulty breathing, and her doctor was sending an ambulance and she was going to be hospitalized. And then this morning, we got another notification from a performer saying that she had to cancel because her mother had just passed away from the illness. So it's kind of morphed into both a sexual assault awareness event and also remembering all of us who are having to deal with these very difficult times. Um, while sexual assault and a global pandemic are obviously two very different animals, some of the emotions that we experience are the same. Um, we know that the only person who is to blame for sexual assault is the perpetrator, but it's not unusual at all for survivors to feel guilty, thinking that somehow they were responsible for the assault. Likewise, people who have contracted COVID-19 often feel guilty because they are afraid that they have put loved ones at risk. Survivors often feel isolated and alone, and many of us are feeling the same way as we shelter in place. So a lot of the emotions are the same. Um, and for that reason, we thought it was appropriate to just mention that and acknowledge what a lot of us are feeling. So our goals and our hopes have changed somewhat. Instead of it just being a platform for survivors and advocates to share their stories, we also want to make sure that we provide a supportive environment for all those who are here tonight so that we can join together in unity. And we hope that sexual assault survivors can feel empowered and inspired by tonight. We also hope that it helps us feel a little stronger, a little braver, and a little less alone. So if there's no objections, before we begin, we want to observe just a short moment of silence as we reflect, as we pray, or as we just send healing and strengthening thoughts to those that we love. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our MC for the evening, Miss Lisa Rock. Lisa served in the United States Army for nearly 10 years before she began a career as a radio announcer and disc jockey. She keeps herself busy when not doing all that as a dedicated advocate and activist for a variety of causes, including gender-based violence, immigrant rights, and the environment. And all of us at Silent No Longer feel very lucky and grateful to have her a part of our team. And we ask that you please give her a warm welcome to our MC, Lisa Rock.
Received this poem earlier today. We thought it was appropriate to share. And we'd like to recognize our medical professionals and our first responders and thank them for what they've done. This poem is entitled Frontliners. These are the frontliners fighting a new enemy, fighting an indiscriminate enemy who cares nothing of politics or philosophy, an enemy with no need for money or power. These are the frontliners, sounding the alarm as they ride into battle, desperate for reinforcements, hoping someone will finally listen, still marching as their pleas go unheard. These are the frontliners, arming themselves against the enemy of humanity, arming themselves with crude and improvised weapons, pushing themselves past exhaustion, desperate to save a precious life. These are the frontliners. Standing on a new battlefield of war, staring disease, death, and fear in the eye, making choices that will forever haunt them, choices they never once dreamed they would have to make. These are the frontliners, the foot soldiers of all humanity, the true heroes of all nations, marching into the fury, steadfast in their mission, sacrificing themselves because of their oath. These are the frontliners, clothed not in protective armor, but in scrubs, in badges and in turnout gear, in bandanas, in trash bags, and plastic grocery bags, because the armor is simply not there. These are the frontliners, saving our lives as families mourn the loss of theirs. We salute you, frontliners. May God comfort and keep you and bring you peace. Joining us tonight is Rashonda N. Burks. We're really happy to have Ms. Burks join us this evening as she shares two of her original works with us. The first, Ambiguity, and the second, Turbulence. Rashonda is the founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization To Biosphere Incorporated. It's an organization that is dedicated to the advocacy and recovery of survivors of sexual abuse. Being a survivor herself, she has a passion for helping others receive the much needed help they need and move past their trauma into their destiny. Please welcome Rashonda.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, you want me to read both or just one?
You can go ahead and read both, or if you want to split them up and do one later, that's fine too.
Okay, I'll read one and then I'll read the other one later.
Sounds fine.
Okay, so the first one I'm gonna read is called, I'm gonna read the one called Turbulence. And this poem, this actually writing was inspired by a dream that I used to have before I began my survival process. And I used to have this reoccurring dream all the time. And when I dug a little bit deeper into it, I realized that it was how I was feeling on the inside and the outside of myself, because I couldn't sort my feelings out and what was going on with me. So it's called, so this is how it goes. Prior to, hold on, my computer's acting up, give me 1 second.
We're used to technical difficulties, don't worry.
Right. Okay, prior to and after 9/11, drifting into REM, catastrophe consumed my dreams countless times throughout my life. The location alternating from the comfortable atmosphere that is my home to the outside elements of the world. The normal, subtle, faint sounds of the 747 engine flying above was replaced by extreme roaring that appeared to be oddly closer than I imagined. A shadow of darkness hovered over my neighborhood and masked the appearance of daylight and sunshine with dust. Peering out my window from the inside, I was able to get a glimpse of the vessel dropping with such momentum. Instinctively attempting to get to safety, I retreated to a lower level. From the outside, running for cover was an exhaustive effort, and time was of the essence. Hitting the ground, I witnessed a crash in proximity. Attempting to hide from the shattering debris and fire, afraid of the aftermath, I awake. I don't have number 3, but it says, what are the emotions?
Sorry, it helps if I unmute myself. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, Lisa, I gotta unmute you. Or you need, there you go.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Burks. When you wrote this, was it a freeing adventure for you? Were you able to lay down some of that turmoil that you've gone through?
I actually wrote it when I went to a writing workshop in Milwaukee last year. And it was a room full of survivors, and they talked about a dream, and this dream was always in the forefront of my mind because I would have it all the time. And so when I wrote it, it was amazing to be able to put it on paper and then understand.
It was like walking through a gate and leaving it behind.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Also joining us tonight is Miss Susan Shan. She's an award-winning singer and songwriter, as well as an environmental and social justice activist. And she is a survivor of sexual abuse. And we are so grateful to be sharing this night with her. And she's very grateful for being able to be here with all of you as well. Please help me in welcoming Miss Susan as she performs The Hell She Knows and Goodbye.
Hey, everybody. I am bringing up, can you hear me okay? Okay, I see nodding heads. That's good. So these are songs. I'm going to perform them as poems. And The Hell She Knows, this one that I'm starting with is about somebody most of us know. And in many cases, that somebody might even be ourselves. And so I'll let the words do the talking about that. She's putting on concealer to cover up the bruises because she knows if her friends see her, they'll say, "Girl, what happened to you?" And she'll have to make up stories, hide the ugly truth, and pretend again. When he got home late last night, there was trouble in the air. He was drunk, looking for a fight. He was loaded for bear. And she wished she could just disappear and go anywhere when he drew his hand back. She'll swear she's gonna leave him, find something better. And she wants to believe it, but some pain inside won't let her. In the end, she'll make excuses for him. She'll break down and go back to the hell she knows. She'll tell you how he had it hard when he was just a kid. She'll say, "You'd understand if you only knew him like I did." But the truth behind the stories, the thing she won't admit, is she's afraid. She's so afraid. Afraid no one will love her, and she'll be all alone. Afraid she won't be able to make it on her own. Afraid she got what she deserved, because no one's ever told her she's beautiful. She'll swear she's going to leave him, find something better. And she wants to believe it, but that pain inside won't let her. Again, she'll make excuses for him. Again, she'll go back to the hell she knows. I want to rush in and save her, but what's the use? She just goes back. So I just fold my hands and pray for her, that she might see she's worth much more than that. Then she'll leave him, find something better. Then she'll believe it, and she won't ever make excuses for him again. She'll pull the door closed and walk away from the hell she knows. I pray she'll find the strength to walk away from the hell she knows. Okay, that's the first one. And the second song I'm going to read is one I wrote for my dad. And I'm in my 50s. My dad passed in my late 20s, and it took me until my 50s to be able to write about it. And it was still really hard. Anyway, I won't give you a big backstory. We all have our issues with our family. My mom and dad split when I was just before I turned 5, and my relationship with my dad was difficult. And it was, anyway, I'll go ahead and read this. There you are, looking up at me from a hospital bed in Northwest New Jersey. There I am, smiling back at you, too overcome to find the words to speak my truth. I rehearsed those lines so many times. Now they fall to the ground in a deafening silence, like water rushing underneath the broken bridge that ran between our lives. All I can do is say, goodbye, goodbye. There we are in a photograph, happy and carefree in some distant past. A little girl safe in her daddy's arms, protected from fear, protected from harm. I remember when we drove away, a late September day. I was not yet 5. From my window, I could see your face, framed forever in my mind. All I could do was say, goodbye, goodbye. To waiting for your car to come take me away, to the women in the smoky bars who always stole my faith in the hero I believed you to be, to watching you go, trying to hold on to me. Goodbye. Here I am. Though many years have passed, it's only now the courage comes to speak at last, to tell you I love you, I forgive you. Goodbye.
Wow. That is beautiful, Ms. Shan.
Thank you.
I noticed that when you talk from both perspectives, goodbye, obviously, from the sharp pain that you endured with the loss of your father, but the hell she knows. It sounds like someone you know dearly and closely. That what was it like for you to be helpless in that situation, wanting to help this person and help them rise above the pain that they were enduring?
It's really difficult because you see it and you feel as though you see what's going on and you want to share that perspective with that person that you care for and that you love, and you want them to understand their own worth. And at the same time, it's like watching a story unfold or watching a movie because you can't seem to get through, And so at a certain point, you never stop trying. But at a certain point, you accept that you can't force someone to change or to see what they are somehow unwilling or unable to see about themselves or about the situation they're in. And so you just love them, and you pray for them from afar, and you respect their right to learn it on their own terms.
Sounds like you're a pretty good friend. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tonight, we're also very blessed because we have Ms. Colleen Kimbrough, an author, a poet, and a sexual assault survivor, and an advocate for her fellow survivors. She planned on joining us, however, an unexpected family matter came up and she's unable to be here. And she asked that I read her poems, I'm Human and Monsters. I'm human. I have my weak moments, but I cannot continue to let weak men keep me in shame and keep me from speaking out. If I were to do so, other women would suffer the same fate. This gives me the courage to find my voice and advocate and speak out for myself and other. And that's I'm Human. Tonight also joining us is Miss Bailey Johnson, and we're excited to have Bailey performing. She's a sexual assault survivor, a founding member of Silent No Longer, and a really awesome and remarkably strong and inspiring, empowered woman. We're really thrilled to have her joining us as she shares the poem she wrote specifically for this evening. Bailey, are you there? It may take us a moment to connect over. The fun of technology bringing us together, but sometimes keeping us a little farther apart.
Is it working yet?
There, hi Bailey.
Yeah. Hi.
Good. Well, welcome. We're looking forward to your poem. Please tell us a little bit about the name of it and share with us when you're ready.
All right. Well, I actually just wrote it the other day. I don't know if it's a poem or not. I don't really know what it is, but I wrote it just for this, so I'm just gonna read it.
Awesome.
All right. Sexual assault survivors have to overcome so many odds. The cards are already dealt against you. You must tighten your gloves and get ready for the fight of your life. For me, getting attacked, surviving the actual attack, that was the easy part. Surviving after that, that's what I thought was hard. 94% of women who are attacked experience symptoms of PTSD within 2 weeks of being attacked. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Along with PTSD, survivors usually experience anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. In fact, 33% of women who have been attacked contemplate suicide. Trauma can cause an overwhelming amount of feelings that make you feel like you can't cope. And although it may not feel like it, it is possible to heal from sexual violence. I can sit here and tell you that it does get better because I survived. In December of 2017, 1 month after my wedding, I was raped by a stranger. It was wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. I felt PTSD almost instantly. I felt dirty. The way the cops made it seem like it was my fault didn't help. And so my fight began. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't even look in the mirror. After 10 months of therapy, I checked into a rehab center to help me heal from my trauma. 1 month after rehab, I was fired from my job for being too depressed. 5 months after losing my job, I find myself getting divorced because I couldn't recover. 5 months after my divorce, I was arrested. And then 2 weeks after that, self-harm became not enough. I attempted to overdose. I checked into the hospital where I got the help that I needed. And I've been out of the hospital for 5 months now, and I feel better than I ever have. I have my own home, an amazing job, and a super strong support system. I still have nightmares, and I still cry sometimes. However, I also laugh, and I smile, and I feel all these other things except brokenness. Some things that I learned while in recovery are simply that talking to someone can help you with your feelings. Build up your self-worth, because you're going to need it. Reduce your stress with mindful activities. Yoga is a great tool to relearn how to appreciate your body. Surround yourself with people you want to be around, who you want to be around when you are your best, but also when you are at your worst. And smile, because I promise there is a light at the end of this darkness.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you.
You've been through a lot. Were there
A roller coaster.
any survival techniques that you learned in your time in therapy that comfort you today? For instance, I know that being through my PTSD once in a while, I will speak out loud if I get a little scared at night, and I'll say, at least it's going to be okay. Were there other things that maybe came to you that help you get through some of these moments when the terror comes back for a visit?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I have a dog. I got her like 2 weeks before I got attacked, so she kind of saw me like go through all of that, so she really feels my emotions. So she's always there. She barks at everything, which is annoying, but also really sweet because she's gonna protect me no matter what. So that, and then kind of letting my family back in again. I had kind of let my relationship with them go. I lived 12 hours away from them when all of this happened. So I moved back to Kansas, and being with my family really helped a lot.
That's good. It sounds like you found some ways to get through this.
Yeah,
And
it did.
you know, this is important. And I think sometimes it feels like it's going to be overwhelming and there won't be a light. So thank you for reminding us that there will be, but that
Yeah.
tunnel is only so long.
Also, reading poetry has helped me a lot. I've gotten really, really into reading other people's work. So I wanted to show this book. It's called The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kapoor. I think that's how you say her name, Rupi Kapoor. I'm totally butchering that. But she has two books. She has this one and then one called Milk and Honey. And when I was in the hospital, I read Milk and Honey like probably 30 times from front to back in the same day. So yeah, those books helped me a lot.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate you.
Of course.
It means a lot that you would share. You know, each of us coming together and being able to be vulnerable enough to talk about these moments and empower and enrich others so that we continue to step forward and be our best selves is such an important goal. And thank you.
Yeah, being a part of this group has really like gotten me through. Like Greta from the beginning was always there for me. Another woman, Rain, she'll be on here later, but us three have really been through the ringer with this. So it's good to be a part of something, you know?
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Of course.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure how all we have joining us tonight, but thank you for being here. And we continue with our honored guest. And Miss Allison Duval will be joining us. And she's a middle school family and consumer sciences teacher, as also a sexual assault survivor. She had planned on performing excerpts from Because of What Happened, Affirmations of Survivors, Abuse and Trauma. But unfortunately, she had planned to be here, but notified us this morning that her grandfather died. Greta mentioned that earlier, and that she wouldn't be able to do so. So Bailey is going to read for her. So Bailey, we want to thank you again, and we appreciate you being able to share this on her behalf. So join us again as Bailey.
All right. Affirmations for sexual assault survivors. I am not responsible for something I did not consent to. No one can minimize what has happened to me unless I allow it. I know what has happened. I know the truth. My fears and emotions are valid. It is okay to be afraid. I know it is okay to be angry. I know it is okay to cry whenever I need to. Self-love can help me heal. Sometimes I am so happy when I forget about my assault, and that is okay. I do not have to forget what has happened and move on. My body belongs to me, and no one has the right to take that away from me. I have the power to create safe spaces for myself. I have the right to talk about what happened and to not talk about what happened. This is my story to tell in the way I want to tell it, at the time I want to tell it. I deserve to be believed. I deserve to be respected. I do not deserve to be judged. I have the right to wear what I want. I have the right to be where I want at whatever time I want. I am strong. I am brave. I am a survivor.
Those are beautiful. They really do.
Yes, she did a beautiful job. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, we have the opportunity, Bailey, you might even want to help me. We get to introduce the person that brought us all together and helps us create this, our very own Greta McLean. And she performs War on Survivors. It's a piece that she wrote during the height of the Judge Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And she's been involved in creative writing and poetry for over 30 years. She's also a sexual assault survivor, and she is our founder of Silent No Longer Tennessee. Bailey, you have something wonderful you'd like to say too? You love her as much as I do. Would you invite Greta on for us?
This woman has done so much for me. Stuff she doesn't even know she's done. She has got me through times I didn't know I needed her. I hope all of you have the chance to meet her one day, because she is truly an amazing woman.
She really is. I mean, if
Now I'm
there's
crying.
a way, we love tears. Tears are beautiful.
Y'all are gonna
I
make me
honestly
cry.
believe that tears are God's way of letting all our beautiful emotions come out, whether they're happy or sad or whatever they are. So we love tears. We don't worry about those. Let them go. They're free, free. Greta, thank you for doing this, and please come on.
Thank you, and thank you, Bailey. Now I've got to try to compose myself so I don't cry while I'm doing this.
Well, we can talk a moment while we get this back. You know, Greta, we haven't had a real large platform for me to ask you. You never let grass grow under your feet. When you see that there's a need and you find a way to fill that need, you go about finding a way to knit communities together, whether it is for one cause or another. And here with Silent No Longer, you saw that you were drowning and that there were pieces and parts of us throughout the state. How did you know? How did you know to start? When did it come to you, and what was that like for you for a moment?
It originally came to me when people that I was working with at the time said that they appreciated the fact that I was open about what had happened to me, and that they never felt safe enough to do that. And I felt, and this wasn't long after the Me Too movement first started. So I decided that we needed Me Too is amazing and great, and it has helped a lot of people. But I think just seeing people put it on social media, that helps, but having people right there with you in your communities that are willing to speak out can hopefully help with the healing process and help people find their voice. And that's why I started it. It's just to help
Thank
people
you.
find their voice. Thank you.
We're grateful for that. Over to you now, my dear.
All righty. We stand in awe as our leaders, those who were chosen to act in our best interest, as they prepare to strike out against us. We stand in dismay as they launch their barrage of attacks against us. We stand draped in our pain. Pain as we watch the crimes committed against us being diminished and ignored. We stand in anger as they question our character and claim she's just mistaken, or it never happened. Our minds, our bodies, our hearts, and our souls are riddled with wounds that are both old and new. But despite the blood of these new wounds, and despite the pain of the reopened wounds, we still stand. Despite these brutal attacks against us, we still stand. We stand more determined than ever, determined to ride out this war against survivors. Sorry, I lost my place for a second. We are determined to ride out the war on truth and on justice. But we stand We stand on the front lines because we are no longer victims. We stand because we are survivors. We stand and we fight because we are survivors who have weathered more heinous storms before. Yes, we are survivors, and we will march on in unity. We will march with our heads held high and our voices strong. For every new day brings forth a noble opportunity, and every opportunity brings forth a noble survivor. And with God's guiding hand and strength, we shall continue to fight for what is right. We shall continue to fight for what is just, and we will liberate ourselves, and we will liberate our sisters and our brothers from the tyranny of oppression. We will liberate ourselves from the misogyny, from the stereotypes, and from the injustice. And we will stand and we will sing out in rebellion against those who wish to silence us, for we will be silent no longer. We will speak because it is our mission to stand and fight for ourselves. We will speak because it is our duty to be the voice of those who cannot speak for themselves. We will speak because we are survivors. We speak because we are strong, we are resilient, and we are determined to fight for a better world, for a better future for generations to come. We fight because we are survivors.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you wrote this at the height of the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was going on at a time when we were looking at some of our own stuff here in Tennessee, where we were seeing that some of our legislators had a history of being sexual predators.
Yes.
And it seemed like there was this shadow that was cast across our land, essentially. And we raised this topic up at the highest levels, yet it was like it fell on deaf ears. Some made it, some didn't. And I was really hopeful that we would elevate the conversation to a point at which we could, just kick down those walls. How far do you think that we've come in both Tennessee and nationally in trying to ferret out the onousness of sexual predators becoming leaders and letting all that kind of permeate down through our culture as a whole, as a nation?
Personally, and not trying to be a downer, but I know in Tennessee, I don't think we've made any progress. That hasn't deterred us, and it won't deter us. But we just recently saw, and for those of y'all who are from out of state, and I know we have several, Tennessee has a state representative who has admitted to molesting 15-year-old girls when he was their basketball coach. And he had said, after a lengthy campaign last year, from Silent No Longer, Enough is Enough Tennessee, they were the point organization for it. We were trying to get him to be removed. He finally announced that he would not run for re-election. Well, the day before the final filing, which was just a couple weeks ago, he decided that he was going to run again. So to me, that proves that we really have not made a whole lot of headway. I think we have made some with the communities at large, but as far as getting through to elected officials, they're still ignoring us.
So a lot more work to be done.
A whole lot more work to be done. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate them.
You're welcome.
And now it is my turn to take the mic for a moment and introduce our very own Lisa Rock. She is amazing, as I said earlier, and we are very happy to have her performing her poem, They Say.
Thank you. They say time heals all wounds. They say, forget about it, move on. They say, what's the big deal? They say, you shouldn't have been there. They say, you should have known that this could happen. They say, why didn't you scream louder? They say, well, that's what you get for acting like a man. They say, she was only 3, she'll forget about it. They say, don't tell anyone because you're a boy, no one will believe you. They say, real men can't be raped. They say, dressed like that, you are asking for it. They say, what's the use telling anyone? There's nothing that can be done. They say, aren't you embarrassed? I'd die of shame. They'd say, it's best if we let this drop and never speak of this in public. They say, stop rocking the boat, you'll make things worse. I say, bullshit. Yes, they do say a lot of things. Well practiced and well rehearsed. Things. They have the self-appointed society of approval. They're just mockingbirds saying one thing after the other. They want to decide what we should be free to say. They want to decide when, where, and how, and to whom we can speak our truth and tell our story. Oh yeah, they do say a lot. And sometimes their words are actually silent. The phone that doesn't ring, the job that falls through, the side eyes when you enter a room, the lack of doubt on their faces, the deafening sounds of their judgment. Next, not now, not ever. I can't imagine. It's too much. But we say no. We say no more violations. We say no more victims. We say no more denials. We say no more hollow words, and we say no to rape culture stereotypes, platitudes. We say no to innuendos, promises, and yes to change. We say we will be silent no longer because we are stronger when we share our stories together. We are wiser when we share our experiences. We are compassionate when we help carry one another's grief. We are kinder when we realize we were not to blame. And we are healed when we can face our stories and own them, free from the pain, the punishment, the isolation, and the shame. Together we are loud. We thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. What inspired you to write that?
You know, so many times I've talked with people that have gone through what we've gone through. And I've told people that have never experienced or have experienced it, but yet are in denial about what they went through. They feel shame, they feel the pain, and so they cannot share that yet. They haven't healed from it. So even though their responses are more self-protective, like don't tell anybody, you know, shut that down, it's universal. I started hearing the same stories from other survivors. They hear the same words: be quiet, stay low. Why did you dress like that? Could you scream louder? Why didn't you scream? Where have you been? I mean, did you run? Could you do this? I mean, there's always some kind of way that people want to try to figure out why the perpetrator is not the one to blame, but the victim. Now, when we have a murder happen, we don't say, why did the victim do that? When, you know, we have flat tires, we don't ask the tire, why did you go flat? I mean, but we think it's okay to blame victims of sexual abuse and it just doesn't seem fair. And those are just such common things that we hear. And it's sad, but we're just going to keep pushing back. We're not going to let it. We're not taking it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Pretty heavy stuff, right?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah. Do we want to take a break at this point, or do we want to continue going? How's everybody doing? Do they need a bathroom break and a glass of tea break or something?
I'm okay.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I'm fine. Great.
Well, let's keep going.
Keep
then.
going.
If everybody's
All
good
right.
with it, I'm good with it.
Okay. Well, we're pleased to welcome back Miss Shan as she performs Lost Along the Way, Pain and Poetry, and When I Say No. So Susan, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
So, okay, these again are songs. This, the first one, Lost Along the Way, is one that I wrote a while back, and it's just kind of reflections of an experience I had when I was 16. I ran away from home, and I hitchhiked from New Jersey out to San Francisco, and that is where a lot of the assaults that I experienced happened. I was picked up by a pimp, and I worked on the street there for several months, and then that carried over for a long time in my life into other forms of self. You know, I don't know. I don't want to. I hate to call it self-denigration, but you know, anyway. So this is about my experience of leaving home and going out to California. It goes like this. On a sleepless winter night, snow coming down, you step out in the moonlight and say goodbye to this town. A little girl with big dreams and a restless spirit. There's a whole world out there, and you can hear it calling out your name to carry you away to somewhere. You want to live, you want to follow your star. But just remember, baby, remember who you are. Because the signs are so unclear on this twisting, turning road. No one's there to show you which way to go. Got to walk that fine line. Got to keep your head on straight, because it's so easy to get lost along the way. Flying toward those city lights like a moth to a flame. On 18 wheels of steel, that man don't even know your name. But he'll get you where you're going if the price is right. He just wants to pet those pretty wings before you fly. So you make a bargain, a little compromise. No one's any wiser for the freedom that it buys. Yeah, you dance with the devil, but the devil, he leads, pulling you closer to him by degrees. And you don't even think twice. You're caught up in the spell. It's a song so familiar, a tune you know so well. And you try to find the words, but there's nothing left to say. That's when you realize you've gotten lost along the way. There's a blind man on the corner begging for change. There's a woman in a doorway with a look so strange, like she's seen too much, like she knows something you don't know. And she's softly singing, "Where did all the good times go?" We hurry by them with our eyes to the ground, like we don't see nothing, like we don't hear a sound. And aren't we thankful that it's them and not us? If we're all God's children, how come it's God we don't trust? See the bridges burn behind us. Watch them all fall down. No passage of return to that sacred ground. See the walls rise up before us in the prisons we create. It's such a shame how we get lost along the way. Okay, that's
Wow.
it.
Wow, that is so deep.
That's
I
some-
noticed that it is, and I couldn't help but hear that you escaped human trafficking. How were you able to get out?
Actually, I didn't. I mean, I worked out in San Francisco for a couple of months, and then I was picked up as a runaway because my sister Patty lived out in California in Santa Clara, and she had put out an alert and a photo of me. I had called a friend and let her know where I was headed, and that friend then contacted my family, and I'm really glad she did because she probably saved my life. In fact, I know she saved my life. But anyway, I worked out there, and then I don't know. I came home, and I thought I was tough. I thought I was above it all. You know, I was young. I was like, it's all right. I'm cool. They can't hurt me. But then I spent like the next 10 years of my life basically continuing to work. As a prostitute and in go-go bars and stuff. It was like I was punishing myself for being so stupid or something. I don't know. So in some ways, I can honestly say, I mean, I don't blame myself like I'm a bad person, but I take responsibility for the choices that I made, and I forgive it, and I love it, and I love who I am today. So.
Well, and let's not forget at your age that we went through this, at my age, that there was this time where it wasn't necessarily frowned upon. That this was considered owning your body and owning the time and you deciding. And I can understand wanting to decide when, where, how things happen. It's because when that's taken away, when you are no longer free to make a decision like that, it robs you of something inside. It strips you of your humanity. Like, you're not able to even decide where your body goes and where where your heart is and how you survive. It just, personally, it's devastating. I don't blame you at all either. I know. No, I'm glad that you're in a better place. And you're definitely, a lot of us can echo that pain of basically self-harming ourselves, thinking that we need to be punished, thinking that we don't deserve any better, limiting our own success, lowering the bar for what we want for ourselves so we can stay a little bit smaller. Because if we go big, we're going to be punished again, and something bad is going to come along and lower us back down. So thank you for sharing that. Now, which one are you sharing with us next?
The next one that I'm sharing is Pain into Poetry, and this is a recent one, and this is about learning to process this stuff as a mature woman, and to really look at it objectively, and to be able to do that is so liberating. To not, as I said, writing about like my dad or some of these experiences, it took me a really long time to get to a point. I mean, I wanted to be involved in music from the time I was in bands when I was 15, and then I kind of moved away from all that for that period of time, like I said, from the time I was 16 and when I came back, and I kind of wallowed. And then finding music and finding a way of expressing all this in a way that helps me and can help others has been really liberating. So Pain into Poetry is about that. So it says, I'm not some tender young thing with stars in her eyes. I've learned to be strong and I've learned to be wise. I'll speak my truth. I've got no time for lies. That's the way it's got to be. And you can walk beside me, you can call me friend, but don't imagine I'll be back this way again, because I'm bound to keep on moving till I reach the end. I let the music carry me. I'll see beyond the sorrow, find healing from the hurt, turning pain into poetry and wounds into words. I'll let go the anger that once caged this restless bird, with pain into poetry and wounds into words, pain into poetry and wounds into words. Everybody's got their heartaches and their stories to tell. You don't know what I've been through, and it's probably just as well, because for every tear I've cried, 1,000 more from someone else. So it goes forevermore. But I'm thankful for the laughter. It helps to keep me sane. The sunlight in the morning and the rhythm of the rain, the spark, the mystery, the love that remains. That's what I'm living for. And I'll see beyond the sorrow, find healing from the hurt, turning pain into poetry and wounds into words. I'll let go of the anger that once caged this restless bird, with pain into poetry and wounds into words. Pain into poetry and wounds into words. Some say music can save your life. Man, I know it saved mine. And when I feel like giving up sometimes, I make a little melody and rhyme. And I'll see beyond the sorrow, find healing from the hurt, turning pain into poetry and wounds into words. I'll let go the anger that once caged this restless bird, with pain into poetry and wounds into words. Pain into poetry and wounds into words. That's what we're doing tonight, right?
Yes, it is. It couldn't be more on target. The pain into poetry. Isn't that, I mean, the ultimate gift to yourself is to set it free into such a beautiful venue, for yourself.
It really is.
How many times do you think you've done that? I mean, it sounds like you're a pretty good writer, that you get a lot of things out there and you turn it over quite frequently. What is that like for you?
It's a wonderful thing. It's the process of writing. There's multiple things. The process of writing itself is like an exploration. You feel like you're a voyager. You're on this mission to kind of either reveal something within yourself or find a way to express about a subject matter that you feel deeply about. Sometimes I just write from my heart. Sometimes I do research, to really, if it's not about my own life, then I want to make it really authentic to what I'm writing about. It feels good to me. I write in service. My goal and my dream is to be able to write in service to people and to the planet, because I'm also an environmental activist. So being able to write songs that either tell a story or raise awareness or move people or make them think about something in a way maybe they haven't before it's a blessing for me. If I never shared it, I would still feel blessed, but it's even more of a blessing when I can share it with others and feel like they understand and they connect with what I'm trying to say, and maybe it helps them too.
I think it does. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And the next that you're sharing with us?
Well, I feel like, I hope I'm not being a time hog here.
No.
Greta asked me if I would share these. So this is just something I wrote this morning, and it's really just a prose statement. And all of you out there who write, you know how it is. You start something and you think about it, and maybe you come back to it a number of times. And so this is a really rough draft, because I probably would come back and maybe add more, or maybe take something away. But it's just, when I say no, an open statement to aggressors everywhere. When I say no, it's not to deprive or deny you of something to which you are entitled, but to protect what is mine. My body is sovereign territory over which I've been given exclusive domain. It's my temple, the vessel in which this singular aspect of the divine that I identify as myself resides. While I may ease restrictions or even grant full access to one whom I determine worthy of such a high level of trust and privilege, that decision belongs to me and no one else. Should you take it upon yourself to cross those boundaries without first understanding this fundamental truth and seeking my blessing, you will be assumed an invader and will not be welcomed, nor met with acquiescence, but resisted and rejected. If for whatever reason I'm unable to expel you from my sacred temple, your presence is no less a violation and an act of aggression. That the practice of not seeking but demanding or seizing for oneself what is not theirs to take has been both implicitly and explicitly sanctioned by cultures of male domination the world over, does not nullify the trespass. Such an imbalanced perception, call it the egoistic equation of religious paternalism or superior physical strength with superior being, or with some inevitable right of way or false claim of entitlement upon those one seeks to dominate, regardless of how long it has been allowed to perpetuate, is and remains what it has always been, an error in need of correction. When you're finally able to see the truth of my being as being not above or below, not in front of or behind, but alongside and equal to your own, you will understand why any response less than this is a disservice to us both. Ultimate equality requires ultimate and reciprocal respect as its foundation. Okay, wait, there's more. Now is the time for all who have borne and endured the effects of these misguided belief systems and the equally misguided behaviors they have engendered to stand united and to call out all forms of aggression, suppression, exploitation, or abuse for what they are, and say no more. When we say no more, it's not to deprive or deny another of something to which they are entitled, but protect and honor what is ours. And so it is.
Amen. And that is, I'm so glad that you mentioned boundaries and talked about them. Sometimes, especially those of us that grew up with abuse that was happening to us beginning when we were tiny children and moving on through our lives, we didn't always learn that our body and our room and our doors and our things belong to us. We sometimes trusted the wrong people, you know, and didn't know how to protect ourselves because our boundaries and the way we've been treated were so skewed from the things that they should have been. So the idea that you're addressing that in a way that people can go, boundary, huh? You know, and I can say no, I can do that.
Right.
That's really powerful. I'm really glad you're addressing that.
You know what? There's no wrong age to realize the truth and to really begin to recognize yourself as the worthy and divine person that you are.
Ooh, well said. Very true. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, coming back and joining us, we have Molly McLay. And Molly is a social worker, a feminist, an advocate, a therapist, an educator, a poet, a survivor, and a doctoral student at Brown School at Washington University in St. Louis. I love her already. She studies creative writing and interventions for gender-based violence prevention and treatment, and she loves karaoke and dogs, the good place, and humans. Hello, please help us welcome Molly McLay. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's really been great to be a part of this, and sorry if for missing a little bit earlier. I was doing therapy before, so switching gears, and it took me a little longer. But I just found out about this yesterday at my PhD program. We get a newsletter from our Violence Prevention Research Center, and they had a link to this, and I had never heard of it, and took a look, and I was like, this sounds like right up my alley. So I would love to just get to know all of you more and talk with you more about what you've all been doing. But I also, for a long time, I worked on a college campus as a sexual assault advocate and prevention educator. And so I was always in charge of organizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so I've been thinking a lot about that recently, because this is my first April that I haven't been in that position for a long time. And I've also been thinking about the way that the coronavirus has impacted SAM events in general, and just how do we connect over this? And I ran into this just right at the exact right time. So I'm very glad to be in this space with all of you and really appreciate hearing all of your perspectives.
Thank you. It's a joy to have you. You know, coming together as a team just lifts us up and lets us know we're not alone, and we continue to walk together. So it's nice. So you're going to share with us.
Yes.
Well, let's see. Okay. Go ahead.
So,
I'm listening.
this poem I just want to preface with, I wrote it just around this time 2 years ago when I was working my advocate role. And in response to there was a conversation going on with some friends of mine and some people saying some pretty problematic things. And I was just really tired and angry that day. And so I wrote this. And there is some swearing and there are some specific mentions of sexual assault and domestic violence. So I did want to give just a brief, content synopsis there so that you're aware. And if anyone feels like I can't really hear that right now, you can certainly mute me and come back later on. So it is called The Trenches. And I've never performed a poem in this arena before. So I will try to modulate my tone so that it's more appropriate for a video setting versus like a live performance. All right. This year, I'm making a list of all the perpetrators that have been disclosed to me in my office in the last 12 months. And believe me, there are a lot of them. Frat boys, student organization presidents, professors, social workers, staff members, activists, woke misogynists parading under the name feminist, people who should fucking know better. If I could, I'd take my list and post it on every bulletin board, staple it to every notebook cover, paste it to every window. I would tear through the streets screaming the names of these hideous men. And believe me, I know not all perpetrators are men, but all of these people are in fact men. And I would write a diatribe, not very unlike this one, and I'd publish it in every paper and post it to every Facebook page until it was widely known. These men are abusers. But I can't, because I'm an advocate. My job is to hold a survivor's hand as they walk through trauma, confidentially. I am the master of conveying the phrases, I believe you, I'm here for you, it is not your fault, I will listen, in the exact ways of saying them that will aid the exact person in front of me. I'm here to witness, I'm by their side. I'm a steady armrest or hand railing for a person whose strength is tested daily. Every day, the resilience of survivors fucking floors me, and I feel anger and sadness and despair alongside them. Because when you have empathy, you get down in there with another person and feel the feelings and sit there through it and with it and over and under and alongside it. But lately I've been getting the sense that this is getting to me in more ways than one. The more stories I hear, the more I start to see my own life echoed in them. Like when someone told me their dad threatened to hit their mom with a metal bat, I remember flinching as I awaited my dad's drunken hand across my face as he yelled obscenities at my mother. Or lying in bed crying as I pictured what might happen to our family. When my student describes someone fondling her breasts without her consent, I flash back to the man who groped me in his sleep, a man who literally sat here at a sexual assault awareness rally with me a year ago, a man who menacingly said, get on top of me when I asked what I could do to stop him from leaving in the middle of the night. When I hear about someone having sex with a drunk person, I remember when my former grad student boyfriend did the same to me, and it took me years to call it rape. And how do I hold these stories apart, mine and theirs, when all of it is so connected, bound by a rape culture that ensnares us in a web and will not let us go ever? Such as when I leave my office after meeting with 5 survivors in 4 hours, and someone in my friend group is joking about domestic violence on social media, and I think, God damn, why is this happening? And will someone else put a stop to this bullshit? Because I'm spending hours every day fighting rape culture on a campus that wants so much to care but can't quite get there. I'm spending hours hearing stories while fighting my own demons, and no one is there to fucking take care of me. So I pause, I intervene, and you tell me my feelings don't matter and jokes are safe in this space. This is not a space that's safe for me or any survivor. Why don't you eradicate rape culture and then maybe we can talk? So if you are not an advocate and you are not a survivor and you get asked for a little help, please take a moment of your day to stand up and give a fuck, because rape thrives in silence, and I know a lot of silent people. While the rest of us are over here screaming or having our mouths taped shut, I am done with your silence. The complacency of people who supposedly have no skin in this game. We all have skin in this game. And maybe you're just not seeing it, but you will see it if it's the last thing I do until I leave this earth, because I'm an advocate and a survivor, and I'll never stop yelling from down in the trenches. But for once, you could carry on my message. For once, you could carry me and say, I don't have to do this alone. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing. You said so many things I've wanted to say out loud for so long. It must feel good to be able to get that out there.
Yeah, I remember the first time I performed that. And one of the people who was in that conversation about where people were making jokes about domestic violence, I was dating him at the time, was there and was like, now I feel real bad. He didn't last long with me, but it just was, it's so cathartic. And I think poetry has such a power to bring about catharsis and new ways of understanding our experiences. So it was one of the first times I had really written a poem kind of from that perspective of how it is to be both an advocate and a survivor, and kind of balancing those roles, and then seeing these other people in our lives that just don't seem to care. And I felt like I had to write about it.
Do you think that that is one of the better ways for us to start addressing? I mean, we've been working at this quite a long time, not just us, but I mean, us as those folks that have been advocating for addressing rape culture and kind of taking it head on and saying, you know, we have to stop saying boys will be boys and that this is okay. And then other women reinforcing that negative idea. So what other things do you think might help us from your cultural, where you're sitting in, what you're doing? What are you seeing that's working to reach people?
Well, I mean, one thing that I think was, that I saw that was really powerful when I was in my position at the university was I got to coordinate a group of peer educators who then went onto the campus and talked about these issues. And so they took a course with me. I actually performed that poem for them, and they would perform poems at the end of the class too. Some of them would talk about their experiences as survivors, and some of them would talk about when they intervened as a bystander. And I think that this sort of, a lot of the prevention programs out there are really just kind of one-off experiences where you just go to a workshop and you hear people talk about it, and then you never have to think about it again, unless or until it hits home. And in this particular class, for the students that were becoming peer educators, they were in a class with me for an entire semester. So, and they all came to the class voluntarily, but a lot of them really had some problematic viewpoints, and they were like, well, I really don't want people to get sexually assaulted, but, you know, I'm a part of this organization where there's people who are doing problematic things. And this course gave them the opportunity to really start to see the roots and start to make connections of how they can make small changes in their own lives and start to intervene more effectively. So to take that further, a lot of my students said, we really needed to talk about this far before college. Like, for us to be hearing this when so many of us have already experienced this. So my work as a PhD student, I'm hoping to do some prevention work with adolescents. And so what I want to do is actually design a poetry program that can be delivered within an English classroom in a high school or possibly a middle school, where the students have to think about their gender roles and think about empathy and being an active bystander and where they're getting these messages. And I'm hoping through the process of them writing about it and hearing other people's writing that they will start to develop some of that empathy and that passion to really make a change. Because that's sort of what I saw in my college students, is that once they really understood the roots of this issue and like how much it can impact people, then they couldn't help but realize, I need to take a part in this. I can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. So
Wow.
those are some of
That
my
is good
hopes and
news.
dreams.
Oh,
But I think that if there was a simple solution, we would have found it already. And it's going to take, I mean, it really just takes everybody in this whole world, you know, looking inside themselves and deciding, like, what am I going to do to challenge this issue and make a change? Every single person, you know, if everybody did that, then we wouldn't have this problem anymore.
and it really is longstanding. I began some of my work back, I'm 57, and I finally started, I really got active in it when I was about 28. So that's a long time, and I'm just seeing little wedges continue forward where it's gotten a little bit better here, and so we have to think about it like you said. It's a multi-pronged approach over a period of time to recondition our way of thinking and to challenge the multiple cultures we find ourselves within, especially when addressing the boys will be boys rape culture.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? I see you have
I just want to get to know more about Silent No Longer, and I mean, I can definitely like look some of that up, but I think what y'all are doing here is really powerful, and I'm just glad to be a part of it, and also glad to see this because, you know, sometimes when I talk to people about my interest in the creative writing intersection with gender-based violence, sometimes people don't get it. And some researchers are like, well, you know, we already have things that work. I'm like, well, if they all worked, then why do we still have this? Like, I have this belief that we can end sexual assault completely, and I will, you know, if we haven't done that, then there's more work to be done.
I know, I always think of like the John Cena thing. Can you see me? Can you see me? I mean, it's still here, you know, it's still here. And, you know, I've found that in some of the work, that the free writing, just being able to sit down, even for myself, just sit down and say, I've got 3 minutes, and whatever comes to my head, just write the word, and then go back and look and say, oh, I didn't realize all that was swimming around in there, you know, and it can be really freeing. Well, thank you so
You are
much.
most welcome.
And we look forward to sharing more time with you. Take care. Well, Greta, it is your turn again. We welcome you back, and we would like you to share with us. You're going to be sharing Revolution.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it'll take a second as we're switching back over technically. Folks, we are so glad that you've joined us. There you are.
Here
tonight.
I am.
You were important. There you are. Well, your turn.
Okay. I came in search of a sanctuary, a refuge from the heat and the loneliness. But instead of a sanctuary, I found you. Little did I know you were stalking me, watching my every move, sizing me up, waiting until the time was just right. When that time finally came, you launched your attack, pinning me against the hood of my car. Some nights when The darkness is so still and so quiet. I can still feel the tightness of your grip on my wrists, the weight of your body against mine. I made excuses for my black eye, excuses for the bruises on my wrist, and excuses for the blank stares when my mind would relive that night. You not only stole the sanctity of my being, you dared to take residence in my mind. You left me void of hope and ready to give up. But despite your best efforts, despite how precariously close I came to allowing you to win, you did not destroy me. You did not destroy me because I found hope. Hope and power in a single voice. Single voice that was followed by another voice and another voice and another and another and another. And I found healing in the power of a simple little hashtag. And thanks to those voices, thanks to the courage of those willing to overcome their fears and speak out, I found my strength. I found strength to join their chorus, a chorus of strong, beautiful, and powerful voices who say me too. I found strength to join their revolution, a revolution of women who refuse to hold on to shame that is not ours to bear. It's a revolution that says it's about time the spotlight was finally focused on those who use their wealth and their status just to satisfy their needs for control. It's a revolution that says it's about time those who choose to objectify and make degrading comments about women are held accountable, and it is about time that those who choose to remain silent when confronted with such behavior, that they realize their silence is complicity. Yes, I've joined the revolution, a revolution that puts perpetrators on notice, making it clear that their time is indeed up and that we will no longer keep their crimes a secret. But make no mistake, I was not looking for a revolution. And I certainly was not expecting a confrontation with evil. I did not seek, nor did I ever ask for an assault on the sovereignty of my body. And I refuse to allow your evil to define me. You may have thought that you won. You may have thought I would remain the bloody and battered creature that you left in the parking lot that night, but you did not win. You did not win. I am the one who won. All you managed to do is unleash a warrior in me, a warrior who is victorious in the knowledge that I too have the courage and the strength to find my voice, to share my story, and that is exactly what I am doing. I will not be silent. I will not be silent because Elizabeth Cady Stanton once told us, the moment we begin to fear the opinion of others and hesitate to tell the truth that is within us, the divine floods of light and of life no longer flow into our souls. Well, you could not follow through with your threats that night. You did not kill me, and I shall not allow you to claim the life of my soul now. I have overcome fear, overcome the shame, and I'm using my nightmare and my voice as a catalyst for good. Because of you, I now understand that I and my fellow survivors have the power to be like Rosa Parks. We can be strong like her. We can be determined like Susan B. Anthony, and we can be fearless like Harriet Tubman. And you have shown me that I can overcome my fears and fight alongside these women. So, like Rosa Parks, we are remembered as those who fought to be free so others could also be free. So now, you did not win. I am the winner because I have laid down my burden. I have found my courage and I am using my voice. And I and the entire army of survivors will continue to grow. We will continue to speak and we will continue to inspire others every time we raise our hands and say, me too.
Grady, you said something that really hits home. You know, there are times when trauma hits us and tragedy hits us. And I know from personal experience that you sometimes get pulled into becoming the face addressing that tragedy or the trauma. And you can either follow that path that's coming to you or you can run away from it. What was it like for you to see that coming and that coming for you and having to make that crucial decision? Will I stand and join other survivors? Will I pursue this path? What was that like for you?
It was very liberating. The reason I chose the path was, and without getting into too much backstory, I had lost hope and I was in the process of writing goodbye letters and was having difficulty with one particular letter, so I took a break, logged on to Facebook, and started seeing all these Me Too hashtags. And it was like, what in the world? And when I figured out what it was and saw how many strangers and a lot of friends, you know, had the courage to come out and say it, then it's like, well, you know what? They've survived, so I can too. So that's why I've decided to take the path that I have and share my story, because others doing it literally saved my life. And if I can, you know, help somebody else, then I think I owe that to society or to the world, because other people's courage to do that saved me.
So you might end up being the reason they take one more breath. That's important to know. We can all make a difference. I was wondering, could you introduce our next performer? She's very special to you.
Oh, yes, definitely. We are very honored to have Ryan Duplessis with us this evening. She is a very talented artist, actress, and poet, as well as a sexual assault survivor. Ryan has quickly became a very valued addition to Silent No Longer's family as an organizer, a spokesperson, and as an activist. And I'm so glad to have her around and somebody that we can count on and lean on. And I'm very thrilled that she has joined us tonight. So I hope that you help me in welcoming her as she reads Phenomenal Women by legendary author and poet Maya Angelou and Empowered Woman by Sunny Carroll.
Hi, everyone.
Hey girl, good to see you.
My goodness, I miss seeing all your faces. Oh my gosh, it's been too long.
Yes.
It's been way too long.
Good to see you.
Let's see. I was going to read Phenomenal Woman first. However, I feel like Empowered Women, I think, should come first. Yeah, I was really feeling for this one. So, the empowered woman, she moves through the world with a sense of confidence and grace. Her once reckless spirit now tempered by wisdom. Quietly, yet firmly, she speaks her truth without doubt or hesitation, and the life she leads is of her own creation. She now understands what it means to live and let live, how much to ask for herself and how much to give. She has a strong yet generous heart, and the inner beauty she emanates truly sets her apart. Like the mythical phoenix, she has risen from the ashes and soared to a new plane of existence, unfettered by the things that pose such resistance. Her senses now heightened. She sees everything so clearly. She hears the wind rustling through the trees, beckoning her to live the dream she holds so dearly. She feels the softness of her hands and muses at the strength that they possess. Her needs and desires she has learned to express. She has tasted bitter and savored the sweet fruits of life, overcome adversary, and pushed past heartache and strife. And the one thing she never understood, she now knows to be true. It all begins and ends with you.
Love it. Awesome.
Oof. Just reading that just makes me feel just so thankful. I think. Like, I know I haven't been very active as much. I've actually kind of taken a bit of a step back to focus on my schooling and my career, I guess. Well, it's setting up to be a career. I won't talk too much about it, but my work does involve working with kids, and I'm very happy to be working with them. But due to what's recently been going on, I haven't been able to really see them, and that sucks because I love every single one of my 20 kids that are in my classroom. They're all like little brothers and sisters to me, and me being the baby of my family, yeah, I'm very proud to be a part of their lives, and they have helped me want to continue down the career of being a teacher one day. I'm just getting started. They keep me on my toes, and they keep me focused on what I want to achieve.
Isn't it surprising the way that destiny can kind of sneak in and find you when you least expect it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's so weird because when I actually started my college career, I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher. And then all of a sudden, I all of a sudden like psychology. And I did that for a few years and then went, maybe not. So now I'm back to teaching. It's kind of weird how it kind of came completely full circle. It's so interesting.
Well, and you're better equipped.
Yeah.
There's something about, education is never lost, is it?
No,
When you gather
I
it.
learn things from my kids every single day I'm with them, and they learn things about me every single day they're with me. I guess like one of my favorite things is I love connecting with them through story time. I love reading stories. I find it so much fun, and I get very involved with the plot and very animated, kind of like how I was when reading the forum, But yeah, that's like my favorite. One of my favorite stories I read to them was Horton Hears a Who, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss. And they were very involved with it because usually when we're reading stories to kids, we don't want them sitting down on the floor, on the carpet for more than like 10 minutes, but they were so well behaved and enamored by the story. I'm just going, maybe I should keep reading it. They were just very engaged and focused, and I absolutely loved that, because that was something that I enjoyed as a kid, was being told stories, and to be able to have those moments during the day when I could just, be me and have fun, reading to the kids is so rewarding. The job can be really, really hard some days, but it's extremely rewarding. And I say that with full confidence, even with working at home right now. Sure, it's a bit difficult right now, but hope I do see a light that's eventually going to come. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know it's still going to be there when this is all finished. So we just got to wait for the clouds to clear.
Absolutely. And I love that the positivity that you're bringing to this moment, and and talking about not only is your quest and your self-growth going into the direction of you being empowered and you gaining more skills and you opening up to the universe and being vulnerable and trying these different approaches to learning and figuring out where your niche is. You are empowering this next generation of these little guys to believe in themselves and to achieve their dreams. And, well, what if you were this? And what if you did do this? And isn't that a lasting legacy that we all strive to have, to be a positive influence on our communities and within the world? Well done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that, and education, I mean, it's very important for everybody, but it's probably one of the lowest paying jobs out there in our nation when you think about it. Even though it's so important for everybody to have a good education, there's not a whole lot of resources that are within, I guess, like the teaching community. We work with what we got, and sometimes we have to go beyond just the curriculum that's provided in our books. We have to improvise a little bit sometimes. And while, like, for me, I find it, a very creative and a learning process, but for a lot of these teachers that have probably been, working in education for a very long time are still struggling, and even though they're getting paid to do this, they're also taking money out of their own pockets to try and get the resources that these students are needing. So for me, I work with a very impoverished group of individuals in my community. So these are kids who have never gone to school before. This is pre-K. So in my position, I assist my teacher to actually help teach these kids. So we're helping them learn how to write their name, how to wash their hands, all these little things they're going to need for when they do eventually go into kindergarten, So, yeah, and with 20 kids in one tiny classroom, it can be it can be very rambunctious, but I love these rambunctious kids. They're just learning. So I guess for me, like trying to develop my own teaching style, I've just learned to just kind of go with the flow and kind of get on my kids' levels a little bit more, because I find myself to be a really big kid on some stuff. When I see, like, I don't call my students, I call them my friends. They're my little friends, So
Aww.
when I'm seeing my friends draw, I talk to them about it. It's like, I really like what you're drawing. Do you think we could add another color maybe, and just, try to encourage some creativity in the classroom when we have free time. Now we still have lessons, but that's mainly done more through the lead teacher. I'm just kind of there to, support where needed. And if she's sick, I can take over, which can be a little nerve-wracking since I'm still fairly new to it. But My kids know me. My kids love me, you know, so they know not to, you know, push any unnecessary buttons.
Well, I like what you said earlier, and I like that you gave yourself permission to step back and to be healthy. Not all the time do we need to be in 10th gear, or whatever the highest gear is, and pushing forward constantly in all areas. Being truly healthy means knowing when we have a good balance. So sometimes advocacy work, sometimes paying attention to your chosen profession, sometimes just taking time for a bath, or a reflective moment, walking or breathing. And sometimes it can be tough as a woman, as a survivor, just as a human being, especially in the midst of a pandemic. So thank you for reminding us that we all need to take a deep breath and relax a little bit.
That
I think we're moving toward getting toward the end of our night. Pardon me for a second, my getting dry. Now, we were talking about Greta, and right, we were talking about maybe doing opening the mic for anybody that would like to either share a poem or share a thought. Are you up for that, Greta? How are we doing on time?
Yeah, we still got about 15 minutes, so yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's officially let anyone know. They can raise their hand, let you know if they'd like to share something, or perhaps ask a question or make a suggestion or give us some feedback, whatever they would like to do about tonight. And just from my personal side, I want to say thank you. You guys have been a blessing. It's really enjoyable hearing your work, and thank you. We hadn't really necessarily planned to ask you a little bit more, but I went out on the ledge and I thought, while I have you here, let me find out a little bit more about you and what drives you and what helped you create the works that you've created. So thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your humor. From my perspective, it was truly touching and beautiful. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak?
Not seeing anybody.
Okay. Well, Greta, how about I throw this back to you? And if there's any other poems that need to be shared, or whatever you would like to do, I'll let you sign us off. Thank you for bringing us all together tonight, Greta, and making this a possibility. It's been truly a blessing and a lot of fun. Thank you all out there for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Give me one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I want to thank.
better late than never.
I did want to thank everyone for being here and sharing and supporting all of us. We appreciate you sharing your talents and your voice and your strength and courage, and for supporting Silent No Longer. And I got to get a plug. I wouldn't be a good founder or director or whatever if I didn't give a plug or two. We've got this weekend's the 11th through the 13th. We have another event called Say Something, our voice video project, and it's basically a 3-parter. But the main thing is we're asking people to make a 20 to 30 second video that explains why they believe it is important to speak out about sexual violence. And once they've recorded it, they can either attach it in a message on our Silent No Longer Facebook page, send it to us through Messenger, or they can post it directly to the page. And what we're going to do is put all of them together and make a little compilation video and post it and use it for future awareness events. If for some reason you're not comfortable having your face out there, which I do understand, so it's easier when you know you're with a group of survivors and advocates to share your story, but you don't necessarily want your coworkers or family members or something to know. So if you would like to participate, but you don't want your face visible, we can pixelate or blur out your face. We can even alter the voice so that it's harder to identify the voice. So we will protect your privacy as much as possible. If that's something that you want. If you don't, then, you know, we'll just leave it as it is. The next event, that will be on the 16th, a week from today, and that is bystander intervention training. And it's a basic training. Virtual, it's a little harder to do scenarios and stuff, but I think we've got a good program, and for people who really don't know much about bystander intervention, we want to provide something so that people can understand the basics and know how to intervene in a safe manner. Because obviously, if I get hurt trying to intervene, I can't help the person who needs assistance. So that'll be the focus. And then on Saturday the 18th, we are hosting a virtual Break the Chain flash mob. I don't know if y'all have seen any of the videos on YouTube for it. It's been going on since probably a good 4, maybe 5 years now, but we decided we wanted to do it. If you go to the event page at Silent No Longer TN on Facebook, then you can see a video that breaks down the steps and shows you how to do them, and then it shows it all put together. So I've actually been practicing, so hopefully I won't mess up too bad. So we're asking people who would like to attend on the 18th. We'll all be on Zoom, and we're going to record it, and we're all going to do the dance together. If you want to do it on your own, so that, you know, you can always go, oh, no, let's back that up and start over, then you can videotape yourself with your family, you know, stuff like that. You can do it, and then again, you can post it on our Facebook page. And then finally, we're really excited about this. It's still coming together, but we have been able to get a variety of very talented musicians. Susan, who will be one of them, have agreed to perform in a virtual Empowered Woman concert, virtual concert on the 30th. So that's how we're going to close out Sexual Assault Month. And we will have the details about that posted no later than Monday. So again, if you just, on Facebook, if you just search for Silent No Longer, all one word, and then the letters TN after it, you can just go to our event page, and I can actually put the link in here if you like, and learn more information. Always send us a message if you'd like, and we're happy to help in any way we can. And I think that's it. I think that's all the plugs I got.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.